I'm Louis Moroni, and this is Constraints the Podcast from Hi-Fi Handiwork, a 20-episode series. Each episode is a chat with a guest from a creative industry about a project obstacle they've experienced, viewed through the lens of project management's three constraints of scope, time, and budget. Further insights and commentary can be found in the show notes. We hope you enjoy the program. Well, here we are. This is the final episode of this 20-episode series. If you are listening to this podcast for the first time, please don't feel you have to jump to episode 1 before continuing with this one. Each episode has been a standalone discussion with each guest about an obstacle unique to their creative industry. Though I must admit, I begin this episode with a little trepidation and sadness. Like any project, or, what is the same thing, any creative endeavor, as Constraints comes to its end, I am anticipating the post-project blues. The realization that after being so immersed in the process of realizing a vision, you are done. Finito. There's nothing left to do but straighten out your files, pack up your equipment, and maybe have a wrap party. My distinct first memory of the post-project blues was in high school, after our performance of Peter Cummings' Snow Dreams for the Sears Ontario Drama Festival. Shout out to Miss Vellante, who was our director and made the cast collaborators in the process of realizing that vision. There is something extremely human about that feeling after putting so much energy into the creation of something and then standing there once it's done and feeling like there's nothing left for you in life. And I think that theater is probably most people's first experience of that feeling. Really, theater is one of the first creative projects most people engage in that produces that feeling. Sure, you probably experience completing a finger painting before putting on a puppet show for your family, but when you're done the finger painting, you still have it in your hands. You can show it around because the final product you created is what you put on paper. But with theater, the act of creation is the product, and there is no recording of a play that can duplicate the live experience of it for either audience or performers. So I think it's fitting that today's guest on Constraints is in theater, and has been for decades. Currently the co-founder, co-artistic director, and co-producer of Outliers Theater Collective, he is in the post-project blues phase after the play Life Sucks, a brash reworking of Chekhov's Uncle Vanya. It had its last performance on May 10th, 2025 at Small World Centre in Toronto. He has a long directorial CV that crosses the country, including the Newmarket National 10-Minute Play Festival, Toronto Fringe, Halifax Eastern Front Stages Festival, Soul Pepper, and more. He was also born on a Tuesday, while I and my two sisters were born on a Sunday. I am happy to have him with me to share in my pre-post project blues. So, Tom McHale, welcome to Constraints.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, okay, so here we are. You've come to the table. You have a project obstacle in mind. Let's jump in.
Well, I think it was interesting that the introduction talked about post-production blues, because I think I'm living that right now. Yeah, that's very accurate.
And you've experienced that before.
Yeah.
And what's your before we get into your obstacle, what's your approach to getting through that?
You just have to get through it.
All right.
I don't know if there's an approach. You just have to get through it. But I think try to think about the next project, I think, is your way to get through it.
Right.
Always trying to be forward thinking, I think, is the solution.
Yeah,
if
just
there's
put yourself through it again.
Well, exactly. I mean, that's it. You just keep doing it. That's probably good advice for anybody who's doing this or wanting to do this as a career, as a lifestyle, as an art form, is just to keep doing it. Really. And
you've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah, I would say off and on, not any regularity, unfortunately, but for a good 30 years, I've considered myself a professional artist in the city.
So what is the obstacle that you were thinking of?
I think, just to talk about the project that we just did, and some of the production obstacles or the creative obstacles that we encountered as a collective or as a as a group. That's what I'd like to talk about because it's fresh on my mind, really.
Okay, so what was that?
I think there's a lot of things. I mean, we can talk. In terms of the duplicity of what I did as an artist. I was the director of the show. I was also a co-producer. I took on several other tasks throughout the process out of necessity. I was the set designer. I was basically the lighting designer, set designer, and sort of costume designer involved in that. I was involved in the marketing of the show. I was involved in the building of the website for our company. I was involved in pretty much everything that we kind of had to do in order to get this up and running. It was a long sort of process, I think. We started my producing partner and I, Alessandro Samari, who's an academic who teaches at theater. He teaches at Ottawa. He taught at University of Windsor. He's taught at a lot of places. He and I worked together in our Joe job, and we got together and started talking about doing a project, doing a play. So I brought this play to him. He was interested in it, and then we started to plan how to do it. It was probably a year, maybe a little more in terms of a timeline of making it. You pick a day and you say, we've got a production date. We find a venue, which is a challenge in itself. We can talk about that, but finding a venue and then working back from that day is just...
How did you pick the day?
We just did. This is the thing. You just have to pick a day and go, let's do it on this day and then build backwards. And we picked a day that was about a year away from the time we were talking about it. So if we book a venue, then we have to do the show. Right. Really. Yeah. I think that's it. I mean, it's kind of lighting a fire under you and say, okay, now we have to do this.
And is booking the venue the first thing that you did?
One of the first considerations.
And, and do you have to put money down when you
you have to put a deposit or this is the thing with space in the city. You'd have to book very, very far in advance. At least our understanding was at least a year and a half in advance. A lot of these spaces are already spoken for. They're already going to have a production or some company's already in there. They're going to do it. So you have to find a suitable space, a space that you can afford, a suitable space, a space that you can actually present the play in that you'd be comfortable with. It has all the amenities that you need or want. You find a space and then you build backwards from there. And I think that's what we did.
Right. So was that year, that day when you chose the year, the year in the future, was that when Outliers was born?
Pretty much. Yeah, I think so. We kind of decided that we wanted to do this, and what would we do that would separate us maybe from other companies that were also operating in the city? What we were about or what we wanted to do, and I think, the play in itself that we started with was a play that came into my orbit, and I thought it was an interesting play. I thought it was a challenging play. It would challenge us artistically. It would challenge probably the audience, or it would challenge the audience to see it and experience it, and something that we could really feel good about doing, a project that a play that we cared about.
Right. What does that mean? What's the challenge? What's the challenge for the producer? What's the challenge for the audience that makes this play unique?
I think the challenge for the audience is it something that they want to see, hopefully, or relate to? I mean, that might not be a challenge, but that would be an invitation. Like we're trying to invite people to come see this. We're trying to encourage people to see something that they may not really fully want to see or know that they want to see it or understand it.
Right.
Just seeing it, bringing it to an audience is sort of a challenge. I mean, I think theater often struggles to try and find an audience in this weird climate that we're in, where we're very competitive with a lot of things that are going on. There's so much entertainment. I mean, theater's been dying for hundreds of years. It's always been dying, and it hasn't died yet. I think, the movies were going to kill theater.
Right.
TV was going to kill theater. The internet was going to kill theater. It hasn't yet. So I think there's some, hopefully, why do we do this? Hopefully because people crave and want live entertainment. They want that experience.
Right.
They want that real.
True.
I think during the pandemic that became really obvious that we really wanted that or needed that. At least I did. I missed it. I missed it terribly during the pandemic because we couldn't experience it.
Did the pandemic derail any plans that you had for theater?
It not for Outliers, but I mean, I did. You mentioned I was working for the Newmarket National Play Festival. That was in York Region. That festival did not survive the pandemic, unfortunately. Right. A lot of theater didn't. A lot of organizations were not able to recuperate after being dormant for 18 months to 2 years of inactivity. It was just too hard for them to get back into a solid production mode
after having built a foundation and an audience. So does that open up the landscape for new opportunities, or does that sort of make it more difficult because there's less of these established festivals to participate in?
I think it makes it more difficult, but also maybe makes you want to do it more. At least that was what I felt.
Right.
I was seeing things and going, why am I not doing this?
Right.
Why am I not actually putting myself out there and putting something out in the world that I want to see, a production that I want to see? And I'm not the taste master or the purveyor of what's good or aesthetically right. I just know that I want to put on the shows that I want to see.
Right.
That's kind of what the birth. I guess that's the long route of saying what Outliers is about. Is we're trying to do theater. We're trying to do plays that we would like to see. They may be obscure. They may be a little more off the radar. They may be a little bit more unfamiliar to sort of the average theater goer or the average theater person or even the audience. But it's something that has value. We recognize that it's an interesting project, an interesting play. It's fun. It's weird. It's saying something about the world that we're living in. It's a story that we want to tell. And I think that's what we wanted to do with our first project, and hopefully we can do down the road with future projects.
Right.
Yeah.
It's funny with the pandemic. It comes up. I mean, I think I brought it up, but it's come up often over the course of these episodes, and it really was a reset in a lot of different ways for a lot of different people. And in this case, it sounds like, it's almost like you don't know what you got till it's gone. It's like, oh my goodness, I don't want to live in a world where there isn't live theater. Mm-hmm. And then, I want to live in a world where actually the theater I want to see is there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So you said something earlier at the start. You said the first thing you did was find a venue you could afford.
Yeah.
So how did you know what you could afford?
Honestly, for our first project, we were self-funded. We produced this ourselves. Alessandro and I produced this ourselves. So it was basically savings that he had, savings that I had, that we accumulated together and said, okay, we have enough money at least to mount a show, and the biggest expense is a venue. Paying the rent on a venue, paying the rent on a venue for the performance itself and for rehearsal. So that is your usually your biggest production expense. The rest of it is
proportionately less.
Proportionately
right.
less, yes, yeah.
And
that is. Yeah.
So what would be the alternative? Because that's obviously a big risk for you. You've taken your savings, you've put it into this project, hoping that you can recoup your investment,
right?
And obviously, hopefully more than some.
Right.
What are the other options for financing something like this?
Not doing it, perhaps not doing it at all,
right.
Which is not the option when you want to do it and you need to do it. Finding a space that could be an alternative venue that is not necessarily a traditional theater space. I mean, there's tons and tons of space in the city. Renting out a warehouse or a storefront or some sort of an empty space, if you could afford that or pay the real estate or the insurance for a temporary rental of some space, you might be able to do it there. But I mean, then there's all these weird
other offsetting
logistics that don't make sense.
Right.
You know, how do you light the show if you're just doing it you got to bring in seats for people to sit in.
Yeah.
You've got to have it be a quiet enough room that it isn't. There's not people running on the ceiling while you're trying to do a show in a quiet moment. So there's all kinds of logistics in that. I mean, people do theater in alternative spaces, and I support that, and I think that's great. I think that's really interesting. But I mean, the alternative is to, I guess, not do the show.
Right.
I mean,
right.
really. So it's a matter of just saying, well, we need to do this. We want to do this. We have to do this. So let's do it. I mean, you just have to tell yourself it's worth doing, and hopefully you find the right people to collaborate with later on and find the right people to present it to, and that's the goal.
So now we're a couple weeks past the last show,
right,
of Life Sucks. So I guess my question is, was it worth it?
Absolutely. Was it worth it artistically? Yes. Was it worth it production-wise or financially? Not so much. The investment that we made, we kind of knew that we were going to make an investment in this, and if he and I personally lost some money on this, we would be okay. As long as we were able to do this with good people, which we did. We were lucky enough to find theater is very collaborative. The nature of theater is very collaborative, obviously. So you find the right people to do this with. We found a good cast, a good stage manager, another good producer, Janice, who came on board. That was all of these people were instrumental in making this fly. So, yeah, was it worth it? Yes, because I believe it was an investment in our future as a company, as an organization, as artists. Whether it was financially successful or not, that is another story.
Right. But, I think especially within theater, it's often a labor of love, and it's not never really expected to generate large funds unless you're dealing with probably a larger festival like the Stratford Festival or Shaw Festival closer to my hometown, or even Soul Pepper here in Toronto. But they all would have started very small with a lot of heart. So, do you think in long term, like big blue sky dreams about what Outliers could become?
Hopefully, yeah. But I mean, we have to be sort of realistic in the present, and at this moment, we're looking at what to do next, really, in terms of what project to do next, and also how to finance it so that it's not financed through our own pockets. It would be nice to be able to, now that we have at least an established show under our belt, as a collective, as an organization, hopefully we can maybe get some funding, maybe get some.
What are those options?
Well, I think they're grants. There's granting levels. I think sometimes grant agencies won't look at you unless you've had some established experience,
proof of concept.
Yeah. You've executed a project. You've done it. You've done it well. You've done it successfully. And it's hard to measure. Again, it's an ephemeral thing. Theater. It's hard to measure the success based on. Is it box office success? Is it critical success? Is it just the satisfaction, the artistic satisfaction of knowing that you hopefully did something that you believed in and you wanted to do and did it well, hopefully.
Right. I mean, you started with your description of your role with many, many hats.
Oh, yeah.
You know, not just director, producer, but marketer and lighting designer, looking at costume design. And that's a lot of work. And what motivated you was your desire to put something out there. So now you've put something out there. Mm-hmm. Is your desire for the next project, do you think, as strong as this first one? Or does it change, or how do they compare to each other?
I don't know. I hope they're similar.
Mm-hmm.
I hope they're similar because every project is different, but also it's got to be, you got to want to do it. It's got to be, it's got to be passion. You got to have a passionate desire to at least interpret this play and tell this story and give this story put this story into the world. If you don't care about, if the play doesn't resonate with you personally, or you can't find an end for it or a connection to it, then it's probably not the right play for you personally to do. If the play means something to you, if you want to do it, if you believe in it, if you care about what the play is saying, what the playwright's trying to get across, what the characters are experiencing, what they're going through, if it matters to you, if you can't stop thinking about it and going, oh, this is a great story, I want to tell this story. I mean, it's finding those stories. I think that's it. It's wanting to find those stories.
And sort of that inexplicable drive to put it out there. And it must help to have a passionate partner in Alessandro.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, he's been sending me a lot of plays and saying, read this, check this out. And I read it and I go, okay, maybe, no, yes, or potentially. I mean, I think we're just at a stage where we want to find another project that equally has the same passionate drive that this first one did.
Right.
It was an ambitious project. I mean, we took on a play that had 7 actors in it, which is very risky and adventurous because, we want to make sure everyone's paid mm-hmm. and everyone's accommodated, and we did it as a equity collective agreement. So there was a split of the box office that was given to the actors and the stage manager, and I think they were, reasonably compensated. I don't know.
Sure. I mean, I can't imagine that I can't believe anybody within. Do we call this independent theater?
It was definitely ridiculously independent.
So I can't imagine anybody that walks into a ridiculously independent theater production is going into it for the money.
I don't believe so. No, and I think most of the artists at least knew what they were getting into and knew that it was not going to be probably a financially lucrative gig, but hopefully artistically satisfying, and you got to play a role that you were interested in a play that was really cool and really interesting.
And build your own CV.
And build your own CV, yeah. I mean, a lot of the people that we were working with, like myself, have other side jobs and do other things, or they make more of their money doing other things that are connected to the arts. They make films. They're in a commercial that makes more money making a commercial than it would ever make for the 6 weeks that we're working on a show rehearsals and performances.
Right. So there's a love for theater that's required because you're all taking a risk. You're all taking different risks coming in and putting this together. But ultimately, what drives you is this performance for people.
Well,
Do you do like a formal post-mortem? Do you have a
we have not yet, but it would be something that Alessandro and Janice and I would probably sit and talk about. We had the build up to what we were doing. We would have weekly Zoom meetings where we would, for months, we would just check in with each other once a week and go, where are we at with the website? Where are we at with setting up an online box office? Where are we at with some of our outreach? And where are we at with our casting? Where are we at with all these things?
For all of those components, did you have a formal schedule to say this is when we want the website done by, this is when we want casting done by?
Not really, no.
Mm-hmm.
I think we just sort of knew that they needed to get done, and
Right.
we had a list of things that needed to get done, and
With people's names attached
you're
to
like,
them.
can you set up a website? Can you build a website? Can you?
Your website's pretty good. By the way.
No, thank you.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. Again, we talked about finding collaborators. Find people that know how to do it better than you.
Right.
And they'll make you look good. And Alessandro and Janice are wizards when it comes to social media. They're much better than I am about it. They're much better about, I could fumble through building a website, and I did. And then, I get Alessandro to come in and clean it up.
Right.
Because he knows what he's doing. He can do it. It would take me a half an hour. It takes him 5 minutes to do.
How did you meet?
We met working at one of our Joe jobs. We work at, if I'll say,
Yeah, sure.
We work at Roy Thompson Hall and Massey Hall in the front of house department. It's one of the day jobs, Joe
Sure,
jobs
yeah.
that I have. And we met there, and there's a lot of artists that work there. Just started talking about theater and talking about. You just start dreaming. You just start talking about, hey, wouldn't it be great if we should start a company. We should start a collective. We should do something.
Right.
So, and we've formed a really good friendship, and I think a really good working relationship. At least he and I can agree to disagree on things, and it's not personal. It's just like, oh, I don't know if that's the right play that we should be thinking about doing right now. I don't like it. It's not that I don't like it, or I don't see myself I'm not excited by it. So maybe we need to find something else that's exciting.
And so what's needed for that relationship to work like that? Do you need to be friends outside of the collaboration that you have, or is it just a shared vision in terms of what drives art?
I think it's both. I think it is a friendship, but it's also a shared vision. I think, a similar outlook on what we want to see in terms of the art that we want to see. And, we've seen a couple of shows, he and I together, and have had similar or differing opinions about whether we liked it or didn't like it. But I think we have a mutual respect about what we think is aesthetically good, or what we think would work. And I think a friendship and a mutual respect is needed, really.
And do you think that those moments of disagreement or conflict, are they this feels like a leading question, but are they helpful, or do you just have to live with them?
I think everything's helpful in degrees, because they, like I said earlier, I think somebody that knows more than you do, or might be, or have a better perspective on something than you have, would have something more. They would have something better to say about it.
Right.
They would have. Does that make sense?
Well, I suppose
Yeah.
I'm sure he feels the same way about you. So you respect each other's opinions and acknowledge that you have different life experiences and valuable insights.
Yeah.
Into things.
he comes at it from a very academic point of view. He's a professor. He has a doctor of letters. I think he approaches things with much more a cerebral approach than I would. I might have a gut reaction to something, a little more of a feeling. I mean, I'm not saying he doesn't, but I just think sometimes he would look at it intellectually, where I would look at it in a little bit more of a, well, how does that make me feel? Sort of, how do I feel about what I'm reading or seeing or experiencing? You know,
it sounds like a good partnership. It makes me think I was just at the Learning and Teaching Conference here at TMU, and I joined a little group that was talking specifically about assessment in the world of AI. And so we had a lot of discussions about the different ways that you can try to get around or beat out the student who wants to just take an assignment, drop it in AI, and have it spit out something.
Right.
And actually also the keynote speaker, I can't remember his name. Actually, I should. You can look it up, but not you, but anybody who's interested. But was about what is the difference between AI and humans, because at this point, just recently, AI has been just surpassing humans for the first time in human intelligence in terms of IQ tests. And really, when it comes down to it, it's these examples of humans collaborating and working off of each other, and these moments where you actually can't recreate with an algorithm that will just essentially take existing information and sort of maybe think of it in a different way. But really, the value I've ever found with it is just sort of trying to have a conversation with it to challenge my own thinking, not to have it think for me. So it was really interesting. I think, back to theater and what it represents, you're never going to go see a live show of, I don't know, will you ever go see a live show with robots that are AI driven? I guess.
I hope not.
I think someone's probably doing that right now.
Well, probably, but I don't know if I want to see it. At curiosity, I'd want to see it. I don't know if it would. I certainly think it wouldn't have the same effect. Where I think the live experience is really, really powerful. At its best, theater can be a really moving collective experience that people can have in the same room in real time. At its worst, it can be boring or self-indulgent or whatever. But at its best, I think it is a really, really human art form. It can't really exist with the technology. Technology can't kill it because it requires people doing it in real time. It requires you to sit in an audience and watch somebody in a space talking to you or talking about something, and it's going to be real. It's going to be happening in front of you. It's not. That should have been the test in Blade Runner. Yeah.
to test whether or not I don't. That wasn't in the story, but to test how you could prove whether or not an android is human or not,
is real or not. Yes.
Okay. Well, look, we're at the end. I wish you luck getting through your post-project blues.
Thank you.
And I wish that your next project comes soon.
Right.
I feel like there will be one.
Well, I hope so. Yeah.
Where should people go to learn more about Outliers?
We have a website, Outliers Theater Collective, OUTLIERS, theatercollective.com, and we have an Instagram and Facebook presence. I think that would be where people could see what we're up to when we're up to something new. So,
well, I hope that people can listen to this years down the road and go check you out and see one of the 20 concurrent plays that you have going.
Beautiful.
So one last thing. if you could finish this sentence, creativity is?
Anything and everything that can be imagined, I guess.
Perfect. Well, Tom McHale, thank you for being on Constraints.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Constraints the podcast receives resource support from the Alan Slate Radio Institute at Toronto Metropolitan University and is co-produced by Louis Moroney and Mihir Kore. Please subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts to automatically be notified when a new episode is posted. Also, follow us on Instagram at constraints_podcast. Constraints the podcast is brought to you by Hi-Fi Handiwork. Sound advice.